Still hot before the qualifying race, the Blancpain GT Sports Club here at the Hungary. Just gone 6 o'clock in the evening local time. It's been a lovely day, but for the drivers it's been very hot indeed. And spare a thought for Stephen Earle, who took part in the 1 hour Blancpain GT Sprint Cup qualifying race, and he's out again. He can't resist his racing. This will be a 25-minute qualifying race. The temperatures will be lower, but the track temperatures hit 55.5 degrees this afternoon. So the tyres certainly earn their keep. Pirelli have been keeping a very close eye on conditions. You know it's going to be hot and humid here, the end of a Central European summer, and it's proving true to type. As you can see, looking at the twist between turns 1 and turns 2, it's plenty of cornering to go on. So track temperature has fallen by over 10 degrees, 43.6, still hot, but it will drop away through the course of the race. 11 cars coming out to play this. The special series started in 2015. There's Anthony Ponce leading, well, in fact, by a huge margin, leading by 46 points from Karim Oj. And Ponce has plenty of pace in the ACA ASP Mercedes, shown it in qualifying. In fact, he had some of his best times taken away, and I've just been told the delay, we've got a slight delay because there's oil on the track. Well, who'd have thought that, with racing trucks on the track before them knocking 6 bells out of each other? No surprise at all. Can't see it, but then you can't with oil generally. But as you can see from the scuff marks on either side of the circuit, trucks running wide on the left-hand side of your screen and on the right and kicking up the dirt. Very entertaining they were, but the track is being cleaned up ahead of the 11 cars going out to pay. Patrick Van Glabica is on pole position. Anthony Ponce, the championship runaway leader, had a couple of his times taken away for exceeding track limits at turn 11 and I think turn 4. Those are the 2 corners on the circuit. Looking at turn 4 there, just in the background of your shot, you can see the track dipping out of turn 3, going down to the bottom valley. Turn 4, very quick corners, and a lot of the drivers are running wide there and also being pinged for going over the curbs at turn 11. Now, if you want to see what happened in qualifying, Karim Oj was going very well indeed in the BMW M6 with Buisson-Gignon, but then seemed to lose grip through the session. Coach McKenzie picking up the pace in the 17 Lamborghini. Anthony Ponce had pace to throw away, but the Ferraris are looking very strong this weekend. Alexis de Bernardi in the 65 car really started to pick up the pace. That's a naughty one over the curbs and far beyond, and these are the corners that the drivers have to really watch out for. Turn 4 and the corner there, turn 11. Klaus-Dieter Freres, Artiga Rennsport, going very well indeed. He would end up qualifying 4th. Anthony Ponce ended up 2nd, and in fact his very best time had 2 times taken away, but neither of them were as quick as the very late lap from the driver of this car, the 488 Ferrari from AF Corsa of Patrick Van Glabica, Belgian racer. He took pole position and thoroughly deserved it, but in terms of numbers of very quick laps, Anthony Ponce has all the answers in his gunmetal and yellow liveried ACA ASP Mercedes. And going out on the circuit to take a look, there is Anthony Ponce going down through turn 2. This is a view high up above turn 1. The dipping start-finish straight, it's far steeper than it looks there on that shot. So Van Glabica on pole and his AF Corsa Ferrari. The ACA ASP Mercedes of Anthony Ponce just in behind, and then comes Christoph Ulrich and Klaus-Dieter Freres on the 2nd row. Karim Oj just couldn't get that BMW to grip. He'll be 5th. Alexis de Bernardi in his black, blue and yellow Ferrari in 6th. Coach McKenzie in his green and black tiger striped Lamborghini is 7th. Oliver Baumann in his SLS Mercedes in 8th. Stephen Earle 9th. Christian Hook in his Rinaldi Ferrari in 10th. And 11th place, Louis-Philippe Sunen in the number 50 Ferrari. So a lot of Ferraris, 1 on the front row, 2 on the 2nd row, and more dotted down through the field. But Anthony Ponce literally has this title in his pocket. He's just got to keep it on the straight and narrow. Today we have points for the top 6 finishers. 8th, 6th, 4th, 3, 2, 1. The 1st through to 6th place. Tomorrow in the main race there, 25, 18, 15, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 1. Allocated from 1st down to 10th. Anthony Ponce knows this AMG Mercedes very well indeed. And of course the team that runs it, ACA ASP, run a host of cars in the Endurance Cup and the Sprint Cup of the Blancpain main series, the GT Series. And so a lot of that knowledge and experience and set-up know-how gets passed on down to Anthony Ponce, and he makes very, very good use of it indeed. Going around slowly, looks like the track clean-up has all been underway. Maybe we're not going to lose as many as 10 minutes. That was what we'd heard before, but cars coming onto the grid, looking for the right place to come to a standstill. Outside of the front row will be where number 72 is heading with Anthony Ponce, waiting to be shown the exact position. Hoping he hasn't passed it. There's the front row of the grid. Chasing after it on the Segway to take a look. Minerva Oil, main sponsor of this car for Anthony Ponce. Checking tyre pressures, checking everything is absolutely right. Everything's on 4 square. Doesn't look as though Anthony is particularly perturbed by anything. Happy to wave to the camera and thumbs up. So one thing's going to be a factor as they head down the start-finish straight. It will be the sun low and straight into their faces. Christoph Ulrich on the second row in his 51 Ferrari. One of 3 cars in the race run by the AF Corsa team. Louis Philippe Cernan on the back row, the Belgian in 50. He's in 51. That's Christoph Ulrich and Patrick van Glaveke on pole position in the 488 Ferrari. So position first and third on the grid. On the pit wall side, getting into the exact positioning. The AF Corsa crew wheeling him up, so he doesn't lose anything when sitting alongside Anthony Ponce on the front row. What they're just pointing out is that when he comes around the start line is the white line just in front of his car. Doesn't want to be dropping it before then, dropping the throttle. You have to come around and take a look at the lights. So 11 cars down there on the grid. You can see the Audi safety cars and pace cars at the front of the grid, but on the front row we've got a Ferrari and a Mercedes. The second row 2 Ferraris, the next row a Mercedes and a Ferrari, and a Lamborghini and Mercedes, and 2 more Ferraris, and on the very back row another Ferrari. So plenty of Ferraris in this race, but will they take victory, or will it be another Anthony Ponce victory? Anthony, so far out of the 8 races they've had, has picked off 3 first places, 3 seconds, a third and a fifth. So that sort of consistency is why he is out clear. But he didn't win at the last occasion. The 2 races at Spa-Francorchamps, victory went in both of them to Pier Giuseppe Perezzini, who dropped in for AF Corsa. It's quite a driver to drop in a championship like this, and he took victory in both of those, Pier Giuseppe Perezzini. Here's the Artega Rennsport Ferrari 488 GT3. Klaus-Dieter Freyrs going better and better with that through the course of the season. He looks very focused on what comes up ahead, because anyone racing at the Hungaroring knows it's a long blast down to the first corner, but then things get very serious indeed as the corner drops away even more, and it has a couple of apexes, or apices if you want to be correct in your English. And if you find yourself on the outside line, you can get hustled and shuffled over the curbs, but it is the faster line to be taking down at that first corner. Some people lock up, go up down the inside and run out of track. Karim Oj, the Boutson-Ginian team, on row 3. Alongside him, Alexis de Bernardi, run by Kessel Racing. Great livery on that car. Got a funky helmet design as well. All smiles from his pit crew. And this is a car you don't miss anywhere. Bright emerald green. Coach Mackenzie's tiger striped HB Racing Lamborghini Huracan. 2 and a bit seconds off the ultimate pace. Seems to be where he is this weekend, but again, he's showing progress, the German racer, over the course of this season, building on what went before. Now Dominic's father, Dominic in the back, I couldn't quite see, but Dominic Baumann races in the main racing here, but Oliver Baumann gives it a real crack in the SLS AMG Mercedes. And here's Austrian flag on his helmet. Oliver Baumann down on the 4th row. 5th row, Stephen Earle races in the Iron Cup. What is the Iron Cup, you may ask? That is for drivers aged 60 and over, special trophy for them. And Stephen commutes from the States. You can see he's an orthopedic spinal surgeon, and comes over to race as much as he possibly can. And if it's got a Ferrari badge on the nose, that's certainly got his interest. Rinaldi Racing's Christian Hook, another German racer. Christian Hook used to race with Stephen Parrow, Hook and Sparrow. Think about it. And there on the final row, Louis-Philippe Cernan, another driver in the Iron Cup class. number 50 Ferrari. You can see the lengthening shadows as the Segway spins around it to get that wonderful moving image. Yes, we are early evening here, just outside Budapest at the Hungaroring. Been open for more than 30 years now. Circuits you used to think of as new circuits are no longer new circuits. It's always provided close racing. Not always been big on overtaking. The drivers can get close. Very, very hard to make a move. But with 11 cars on the circuit, there will be space for this grouping for the Blancpain GT Sports Club, for gentlemen drivers to show their craft. Again, riding back up the grid past Christian Hook's Ferrari, then Oliver Baumann's Mercedes SLS. You can see it's an SLS, not just the body shape, but also the gull-wing doors. Up to keep the drivers cool, Alexis de Bernardi, the 65 Ferrari. Then ahead of him, the red and white Ferrari, number 3 of Klaus-Dieter Frers, and the final driver, or the first driver if you like, on the outside of the front row is Anthony Ponce. Pole position, Patrick van Glabacker, the 488 Ferrari. Full shade pretty much on that section of the circuit. The pit wall still in sunshine. In fact, those on the pit wall side still in the sunshine, but certainly the shadow is getting longer from the roof of the grandstand on the main straight. Doors being held open as long as possible to get the air, what little air is around, flowing through these cars. It's been a hot day here in Hungary. Packed paddocks, packed grandstands. It's been a great day of racing so far. We've got to do it all over again tomorrow. Fantastic news. So for the racers in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, this their qualifying race. It's for the points for first through to 6th places. 25 minutes in all. Tomorrow we've got more points and more minutes racing. We've got 40-minute race tomorrow. So one last look as we ride down through the grid. There's the 4th row. Coach McKenzie and Oliver Baumann, the 5th row of Stephen Earle, Christian Hook, and the final row, all on his own, Louis-Philippe Sonnen. 1 minute board has been shown. So it'll be all eyes on the gantry, and they'll be going off for one last sighter lap. On pole, Patrick van Glabacker, championship leader by a huge margin. Anthony Ponce in the Mercedes at the outside of the front row. They go round on their formation lap. There's the confirmation at the top of the screen. So who's going to keep their cool on what's been a very hot afternoon? Who's going to get it right? Who's going to get it wrong, if anyone is going to get it wrong when they get down to the first corner? Such a tricky corner here at the Hungaroring. As you can see, the cars, they go along the level and they start dropping pretty much just before pit exit down the slope towards the first corner. It's far more appreciable than you can see on the screen. Just is. Foreshortening from a long camera angle. That is what you get. That's why if you look at Monaco, think, oh, it doesn't look steep on the climb out of Saint-Devote up to the first corner. Then you try and walk it on a hot day. It certainly is steep. And much the same here at the Hungaroring. Plenty of gradient changes around its 4.381 kilometres, 14 corners and lots of sort of semi-corners in between, little kinks and things, just to keep it interesting for the drivers. This turn 2 is a scene of great action in a lot of the races, and some not so great action, but plenty of action guaranteed. But who's going to get the better getaway? That is the question. In the gathering shadows here at the Hungaroring GT Sports Club, let's take another look, a final look at the starting grid. Patrick van Glabacker in his Ferrari, just ahead of Anthony Ponce in the one Mercedes AMG in this race. Konrad Ulrich in his 458 Ferrari against the newer 488 of Klaus-Dieter Frers. Then Karim Oj and Alexis de Bernardi on row 3. Row 4, Coach McKenzie, Oliver Baumann. Row 5, Stephen Earle and Christian Hook, and another Ferrari on the final row of the grid on its own, Louis-Philippe Sonnen. So let's just go over those names one more time at the very top end of the grid. It's Patrick van Glabacker, Anthony Ponce, Christoph Ulrich and Klaus-Dieter Frers. 3 Ferraris, and in second place, spoiling their party, maybe spoiling their show, Anthony Ponce in the grey and yellow Mercedes AMG GT3 from the ACA ASP team, run by Jerome Policon. So through turn 11, down into the grandstands around the final corner in the background, and the drivers getting into position for their rolling start, waiting for the white and green car, the Ferrari of Louis-Philippe Sonnen. There it is, that is the last car in the grouping. Down to turn 12, leaving just 2 more corners of this, the formation lap, then 25 minutes of racing. particularly about those on the front row, but maybe Christoph Ulrich or Klaus-Dieter Freres fancy their chances at the start if they can really hook it up on the run to turn 1. So Patrick Van Glabiker, the red and dark grey Ferrari on the front row. On pole position on the outside of the front row with, I must say, Christoph Ulrich looking a little bit close in behind is Anthony Pons, but it's all about where's the lighting on the gantry. Red lights, green lights, who's got the better start? Looks as though initially the start by Patrick Van Glabiker was better, but then the power of the Mercedes seems to be coming to the fore, but Anthony Pons is on the outside line. Van Glabiker's done enough, surely, to take the lead into the first corner. Has Christoph Ulrich moving up, trying to go for second place, but discretion very much the better part of valour. But Karamoje on the attack, trying to move forward from 5th place. Has he got past Klaus-Dieter Freres? No, he hasn't. He's having a look up the inside into turn 2. No, nothing doing there. Oliver Baumann runs a little bit wide behind Alexis de Bernardi, so he may lose a position. No, I think he's managed to hold on to it. Coach McKenzie might have lost a place or two. Yeah, he's lost a position. Stephen Earle has gone round him. Stephen was the driver making the moves at the back of the field. But poleman Patrick Van Glabiker leads through turn 4, staying on the track. That's good. A lot of drivers have been seen running wide there. I'm sure they've all been warned. But Anthony Pons doesn't have to take risks. The championship all but in his pocket, tucked in behind. Alexis de Bernardi just seen in 6th place behind Karamoje. All very tidy. Anthony Pons really attacking the 6 and 7 curbs. That's the chicane. Got suddenly much closer to Patrick Van Glabiker, the race leader. Van Glabiker done enough to hang on. Yes, he has. He seems to have it back on terra firma without full-on attack. Through turn 11 they go, using a little bit of curb, not too much. The stewards will like that. Alexis de Bernardi slightly blotting his copybook a little bit wide, but Karamoje, no time like the present. There he goes, more racing experience than Klaus-Dieter Freres, and it shows. But now he's got dirt all over his tyres, and Klaus-Dieter Freres trying to attack back. Alexis de Bernardi trying to get in onto the mix. But round turn 13 they go. So while they're doing that, the race leaders will be in turn 14, the final corner of the opening lap. And it's all very tidy at the front, pretty much running in grid order. I think Coach McKenzie, yes, he's lost a place to Stephen Earle, so it's Patrick Van Glabiker for Anthony Pons by 0.3 of a second. You can see it's next to nothing. And in behind, Christoph Ulrich hanging on. Then a place gained on that opening lap by Karamoje. The driver who lost it was Klaus-Dieter Freres. Oliver Baumann's gone well. He's gained a position as well. Yes, Coach McKenzie actually lost 2 positions in the HB Racing Lamborghini. You can see it just going under the gantry there. As Stephen Earle starts to get closer to Oliver Baumann in the big SLS gull-winged Mercedes. Still a beautiful evening, but patches of dark on the circuit, patches of shadow, including that area there, turn 4. Into turn 5, though, it's still leading the race, set the fastest opening sector of anyone, but only by a thousandth of a second from the driver giving chase. That's Anthony Pons. So really, it's still about a third of a second between the race leader as he clonks the chicane curbs again. Pons much more positive over the curbs. Maybe the Mercedes a little bit happier getting the bounce and the bash and the bore as they go up and down over there, but certainly Pons attacking. But he probably just wants to wrap the championship up this weekend, doesn't want to take it to the finale in Barcelona. But Patrick Van Glabiker, he simply wants to win the race. That's what he's here for. So far this season, Patrick has collected a 3rd place last time out at Spa, but his next best finish is an 8th, so he's really showing how he's getting to grip with the 488 GT3 Ferrari. Certainly Anthony Pons knows the car in which he's chasing, the Acura ASP Mercedes AMG, that much better, has more experience, but Patrick doing a fantastic job. He just doesn't leave a chink. It's very early in the race, doesn't leave a chink to be exploited and be worked on by Anthony Pons, but it's 0.3 of a second between them now. Now it's 0.202 of a second. But he's in the critical dirty air element. Now's the moment for Anthony to attack. Will Patrick defend? He's looking as though he's going to. Yes, he is, and he's taken a very tight line across into the corner. And behind him, Karamoje says, I don't really fancy 4th anymore. I'll have 3rd. Thank you very much. I'll go past you, Christoph Ulrich. But Christoph fighting back. Will he hold on, or will he? Well, his nose is in front as they go up to turn 2. But, Karim, I thought was just going to go. I'm keeping on coming up the inside. But Christoph, very brave indeed to keep moving across there. I thought Karim had enough momentum, but briefly into 3rd place, back to 4th. But plenty of fight. And look how this lead battle is almost falling back into their path. Christoph Ulrich has been driven onto their tail. Looked there, foreshortening shot, I know, as though he's about to clout the back of Anthony Ponce, whereas in fact he's about 3/4 of a second behind, but really very close. 2.5 laps into this race. And any thought that Patrick Van Glabacker and the chasing Anthony Ponce would pull clear and just keep pulling is not accurate at all, because certainly being chased very hard by Christoph Ulrich. And the pace that seemed to desert Karim Oj, maybe the cooler temperatures of the track now are better suited to the BMW. It's definitely coming back his way as he's in 4th and pushing very hard indeed. And you know what? Who set the fastest first sector of anyone? The driver in 6th place, Alexis de Bernardi. Maybe he's not quite in quite as much traffic. He's just 3/4 of a second down, and Karim Oj takes another move. Yes, de Bernardi fastest is in the 6th place car, just out of the back of your shot there. And Anthony Ponce up the inside, caught coming into turn 13, caught Patrick Van Glabacker napping, it has to be said. I think he thought he had enough position to pull back across, but very late braking from Anthony Ponce. Into the lead goes the Mercedes. So it's now Ferrari's no longer at the front. Ferrari's 2nd and 3rd, BMW up into 4th, and Karim Oj in that number 2 M6 BMW certainly has plenty of pace. His last lap had been the fastest of the race. In fact, it remains the fastest in the race. So, first time leading in this race down to turn 1 for Anthony Ponce ahead of Patrick Van Glabacker. Christoph Ulrich still got company in the form of Karim Oj, and Klaus-Dieter Freyr's not really being dropped. In fact, he gained on all of those in 5th place, and he's taking Alexis de Bernardi with him as well. They're catching the cars. In fact, they were faster than the top 4 runners ahead of them, so it shows how you get these pairs fighting, and they slightly slow each other down. So there's our race leader, Anthony Ponce. I really do feel that now he's in front, he will pull away. And just as I say that, he sets the fastest first sector of anyone by about half a second. So it shows he's got the speed. He just needed the track position. That track position has been found. Can Karim Oj find track position as well? He's trying very hard indeed, but Christoph Ulrich driving very well in that number 51A, of course, the Ferrari with the broad white stripe up its nose, over the roof and beyond. Klaus-Dieter Freyr's, his white stripe has got a dark blue stripe up the middle, helps set them apart, slightly different colours of red as well. There's Coach McKenzie, lost ground at the start, fell down to 9th and just can't do anything about those cars ahead of him. In fact, has he just picked one of them off? I think he has just got past one. No, what's happened is that Stephen Earle has gained a position. He's demoted Oliver Baumann, so Stephen Earle of the red and black Ferrari goes up into 7th place, and Baumann and the SLS Mercedes are down to 8th, then Coach McKenzie in 9th. But just look how much of an advantage Anthony Ponce has built in that lap. Don't forget, he started it, he was 0.4 of a second clear, having made the move at the penultimate corner of the previous lap. What's he in now? 1.5 seconds? 1.533 seconds. And 3/4 of a second further back, Christoph Ulrich with Karim Oj 0.4 of a second behind him. It must be said that Klaus-Dieter Freyr's not so far behind, but in fact, as the groups in front, the pairs in front are just opening out a little bit. They're picking up their pace. They're not having to defend their position so much. So Klaus-Dieter Freyr's and Alexis de Bernardi, having closed in on them a little bit, are now falling back. There they are, 5th and 6th. Going through, oh, Louis-Philippe Sonnen. This isn't a pit stop race. This is a problem for the Belgian racer. Let's see what they're going to do when they work on his car. Lovely low shot, Anthony Ponce. And now what we're seeing is that Patrick Van Glabacker has got Christoph Ulrich closing right in on him all over again. And in turn, Karim Oj just dropping off Ulrich's tail, just that tiny bit, which allows Ulrich the chance to really apply the screw and see what he could do about catching up with Patrick Van Glabacker. There's Stephen Earle who's gained the place. There's Oliver Baumann who lost it. Coach McKenzie trying to make up ground, and behind him Christian Hook, 10th and last, because at the moment at a standstill in the pit lane is the driver who started 11th, Louis-Philippe Sonnen. And the work on the car looks less than frenzied, but maybe there's a slight problem. He wants to get it right for the main race, the feature race tomorrow, the 40 minutes in which they go out to play this, a 25-minute qualifying race. Karim Oj in the number 2 BMW trying his absolute to get himself up onto at least a podium position today. Fastest lap of the race last time around, 1 minute 47.511 seconds by Anthony Ponce. Will he improve on it this time? No, I don't think he will. In fact, he hasn't set any improved intervals, but he set the fastest final sector, and he was well, he was 0.2 of a second down, but he's stretching his advantage, 2.06 second, then second to third and fourth, Patrick Van Glabacker, Christoph Ulrich, Karim Oj, very close indeed, covered by well, just over a second between second and fourth place. And Stephen Earle leaving his braking very late there in the 111 Ferrari down into turn 1, but he's been making the moves, got past Oliver Baumann. His next target will be Alexis de Bernardi. That's going to be a hard one because Alexis at this point in the race lapping a little bit faster, and the gap between them is 2.4 seconds, so it may extend, and certainly one gap that will extend will be the gap between this man, Anthony Pons, the champion-elect, and Patrick Van Glabica. Then now what we're having is the BMW M6 of Karim Ojei is closing onto the tail of Christoph Ulrich again. This is why, when he fell off the tail, this is why Christoph Ulrich was able to attack with more aplomb, but now he's having to look in his mirrors because Karim Ojei back onto the rear of that AF Corsa 51 Ferrari. All looking neat and tidy in the lowering sun. Anthony Pons really does seem to have it under control at the moment. Worked his way to the front. Came here with a 46-point advantage over Karim Ojei. As pointed out, the maximum points, well, there are 8 points for victory today. They look as though they're going Anthony's way. I know there's just under a quarter of an hour remaining. And Karim will pick up 3, so a deficit of 5 that makes it out to 51 points. And thereafter in the championship you have 33. You've got 58 more points to play with, so it's almost in the bag for Anthony Pons. Christoph Ulrich going wide over the curbing on the exit of the final corner, trying to do everything to carry more momentum onto the start-finish straight, not only to catch the car in front, but to drop the car behind, to drop Karim Ojei off his tail. And Patrick Van Glabica, he's seeing Anthony Pons pull away, so he knew that Pons was quicker in the Mercedes. He'll still be slightly kicking himself for leaving the door ajar at turn 13 a handful of laps ago, and Pons did not need a second invitation. Pounced on the opportunity, grabbed the lead, and simply has pulled away ever more with each lap since then. He's done 3 consecutive laps in the mid 1 minute 47s, whereas those giving chase are lapping nearer to 1 minute 48s. That is why he's putting clear. First to second, 2.297 seconds between Pons and Van Glabica. Christoph Ulrich in third, the Swiss racer. Karim Ojei in fourth, Klaus-Dieter Freres, Alexis de Bernardi, and then another Ferrari, Stephen Earle, up into seventh. Oliver Baumann has no answers to any questions that he's asking, and he's under a lot of pressure from Coach McKenzie, the driver who cracked under pressure. Just one little lack of judgment, lack of awareness, and Patrick Van Glabica unfortunately ceded the lead, unfortunately from his point of view, to Anthony Pons. But the pace of Pons since he's pulled clear just continues to show, well, he would have been passed at some point anyhow, because he was 2.3 seconds clear, and it's stretching all the time. Number 3, that's the driver in 5th place overall, Klaus-Dieter Freres, running in the Iron Cup for drivers aged 60 and over. He's leading that class in 5th place overall. Stephen, oh dear, Karim Ojei had been fighting for 3rd place, off he goes. Clearly front bodywork damage, so, well, let's see if we can get a replay there, but either he clattered the car in front. Looks like it's on the far side of the, well, Oliver Baumann, but he was further down the order. He's off as well, so was the oil dropped and he's gone for a spin? Oil from this car, it's obviously clouted something pretty hard indeed, and possibly that put some oil or liquids down onto the circuit, and the driver who's lost out is Oliver Baumann, who'd been running in 8th place. Oh, unfortunate for him, unfortunate for Karim Ojei. Haven't seen what happened. Was the contact with the back of the car in front, which is Christoph Ulrich? He'd been chasing him hard for a long time, or did he get it wrong over the curbs? Looks so that's beyond the chicane. Turn 6 and 7 at the top of the hill. But Anthony Pons is not being slowed. That's his fastest opening sector of anyone. He's 3.2 seconds clear now. Actually, if we ride around with him, we might be able to get to see where the fallen car is. Where is, when we talk of the fallen car, we're talking of Karim Ojei's BMW. The gruff burble of the Mercedes leading the race comfortably. Oh, well, there it is. It's on the exit of turn 10 before the cars drop back down the hill out of turn 11. So here's a replay. Well, that's the end of a replay. But the front bodywork damage suggests contact. You have to presume it was against the back of the car ahead. No, and now with another place change, suddenly Alexis de Bernardi, who'd been promoted to 5th, has become 4th. He's just moved up ahead of Klaus-Dieter Freres. So Freres has been passed a couple of times in this race. And Alexis Bernardi picking up the pace. How far behind? They're 4 and a bit seconds down on Christoph Ulrich, so the top 3 looking pretty safe. Anthony Pons, Patrick Van Glabacker here. Now Van Glabacker has got Christoph Ulrich closer than he's been for a while. They've got no answer to the pace of the Acura ASP Mercedes driver, but Christoph Ulrich wants to have an answer to the question, the riddle that is Patrick Van Glabacker. 10 minutes remaining. It's a 25-minute qualifying race, and I feel plenty more action to come. I sort of feel this is the battle we really need to watch. Alexis de Bernardi now up into 4th place, as we mentioned, but he's 5 seconds behind this pair who are battling over 2nd place. Patrick Van Glabacker started on pole position. He was passed after a while by the car that's now leading, Anthony Pons's Mercedes. In fact, up through turn 4, showed a great deal more speed to take that advantage out to way more than half a second. So around the first part of the track, and certainly through turn 4, Patrick Van Glabacker, very good, very brave indeed. And Christoph Ulrich in the older 458 Italia Ferrari giving chase to the 488. Alexis de Bernardi, also in the 458 Italia. He's going well. He's just picked off Klaus-Dieter Freres and has just set his fastest first sector of the race. So again, this often happens. You get a driver bottled up behind someone, and then once they get in front, they can show their true speed. So we still don't really have an answer for the question of what happened to Karim Ojé, but his last lap before he pulled off the circuit was his fastest. Certainly he was starting to apply the screw, try and catch the 51 Ferrari, try and pass the 51 Ferrari of Christoph Ulrich, but it's all gone wrong, and that BMW beached, parked at the side of the circuit, smoking away. Anthony Pons just continues to rattle off the laps, stretching his advantage. 6 seconds clear now of Patrick Van Glabacker. Christoph Ulrich tucked in behind, less than half a second. He's having a move. Here comes the move. Well, the door is being closed, Mr. Ulrich. I think you are at least half a car too far back to make a stab, but again, you've got to just try and unsettle the driver ahead. If he thought that was a passing manoeuvre that was going to work, I think he was optimistic, but if he thought it was quite good for rattling his rival, then he's probably quite right as well. Louis-Philippe Sonnen went back out onto the circuit. He's listed as being back in the pit lane. Yep, he's having his 2nd pit stop in the race, so whatever's wrong, they're now using this race as a test session ahead of the 40-minute race tomorrow. In and out of the pit. Stephen Earle started down on the penultimate row of the grid. He's driven very well and is up to 6th place overall. So Klaus-Dieter Freres leads the Iron Cup. And the gap back to Stephen Earle, who's 2nd in the Iron Cup in that red and black Ferrari, 2.7 seconds, almost an identical gap back to Coach McKenzie's HB Racing Lamborghini Huracan. And a huge gap back to Oliver Baumann, who had been ahead of the Lamborghini but had that spin. He's half a minute down on Christian Hook. And there is Christian Hook in the the black and green Rinaldi Ferrari, not that far behind Coach McKenzie. New fastest lap of the race by our race leader, 1 minute 47.036 seconds. Will he be 10 seconds clear? He was 6 and a bit last time. He's 8 seconds clear now. So Patrick Van Glabacker didn't have the answers, and again Van Glabacker under attack down to the first corner from Christoph Ulrich. Not making a move this time. Regaining some of the ground he lost when he made the lunge up the inside that was rebuffed with real solidity by Patrick Van Glabacker. Wow, and suddenly the Ferraris in 4th and 5th positions. Alexis de Bernardi way quicker than the Ferraris in 2nd and 3rd. He's 4th, he's trying to catch him, he's 3.5 seconds down. There are the Ferraris in 2nd and 3rd. Patrick Van Glabacker in 488, Christoph Ulrich in 51, but de Bernardi is catching them. And behind him, Klaus-Dieter Freres also lapped very respectably last time around in the 1 minute 47s as well. So there is de Bernardi closing in. Equally catching the battle for 2nd and 3rd is Klaus-Dieter Freres in the number 3 Rennsport Artega 488 in the background. Bernardi going out to the edge of the circuit, not too far beyond, a little puff of dirt being kicked up. Car number 2, confirmation, it just hit the barriers and stopped. That's Karamoje. And not content with the pace he set last time around, not the best of his best opening sequence of the lap, but the middle sector, Anthony Ponce continues to go faster than anybody else. He's 8 seconds clear, and the battle for second place between Van Glabica and Christoph Ulrich, probably slightly delaying the two of them, laying the battle behind. Alexis de Bernardi to close in, to eke its way closer to their tails, and is doing that pretty much on this lap. Patrick Van Glabica, it was 8.0 seconds, it's 9.5 seconds, a mere 1.5 seconds gained by our race leader, and suddenly we're into the final 5 minutes of the race, and here comes the second move. This one, will it work? Well, again, it's a carbon copy of what happened 2 laps ago. Patrick Van Glabica leaves the door open, and then up the inside comes Christoph Ulrich. He can't resist it, but he doesn't get enough space left for him. Look, here's a replay. Going, was he close enough? He was a bit closer than he was the time before, but I will show you, I'm coming right across the curbs, therefore you have to go over them, you have to come off the power, Christoph, and rejoin behind. So fairly robust elements. And cars number 33, 72 and 65 under investigation for yellow flag procedure, and I think this might be going past the stricken number 2 BMW. Number 33 is Christian Hook, he's down at the tail of the field. Alexis de Bernardi is in 4th place, but our race leader, Anthony Pons, is the driver of the number 72 car. Bear in mind, if they give him a 10-second penalty, he's 9.5 seconds clear. He's got to keep pressing on for the rest of the race. His team will have to let him know there might be just under 4 minutes on the clock. And he's setting yet another fastest middle sector, so he's not hanging around, but Anthony Ponce is really having to go for it. Because in fact, he would have been one of the first cars around when the yellow flags were being waved, and presumably did not slow enough. So, well, we were looking for where the car was. In fact, we were looking as Anthony Ponce was going past, and we saw it just on the exit of turn 10 before they turn right and go down the hill at turn 11, and that would have been the point where those yellow flags would have been out. And the new fastest lap, 1 minute 46.713. He will be 10 seconds clear, because there's no way that Patrick Van Glabica is matching that sort of lap speed at this late stage in the race. In fact, I think it'd be out to about 11 seconds, 11.8 seconds is the gap back to Patrick Van Glabica. I don't normally count to the finish, being too concerned about whether someone gets a penalty or not. Anthony Ponce has driven beautifully, but you must say yellow flags are there for a reason. Alexis de Bernardi also under investigation for not slowing down past the yellow flags by Karamoje's car. And he is closing in on that little group ahead, but the clock is going to count against him. He's got Klaus-Dieter Freyrs behind. Oh, Louis-Philippe Sonnen is out after his 2 pit stops. So at least he's getting some track mileage ahead of tomorrow's main race. It's going over the start-finish line, but he's those pit stops have left him 4 laps down on the race leader. Oliver Baumann went for that rotation, so that cost him all the work he did earlier in the race, but round he rumbles, about to get a face full of setting sunshine here at the Hungaroring. Really does make a rumble. Not entirely sure about that livery. Doesn't look good at speed or indeed standing still, but clearly chosen for some reason or other. Anthony Ponce, fastest first sector of all, fastest second sector of all. How fast is he trying to go? But he's 11.8 seconds clear of this battle. Patrick Van Glabica started on pole, but clearly just didn't have the pace and was caught napping very slightly by Anthony Ponce. But since Ponce has got past and put a dozen seconds on him, he can't really have a complaint about coming second. But will he come second? Will Christoph Ulrich go through and pass him? He's certainly been trying hard enough for pretty much the entirety of this race. Anthony Ponce, this ought to be the final lap. 1.5 minutes and less on the clock. 1 minute 46.196 seconds his lap last time around. Here comes Christoph Ulrich behind Patrick Van Glabica. It's out to 15.2 seconds. He was 3.5 seconds quicker, the group ahead of him. Catching this pair in second and third. The car's in 4th and 5th, Alexis de Bernardi, but if this is the final lap, and it is, with just a minute to go, 1.9 seconds down, won't be able to haul that in unless, as we say, there is movement, too much movement in the battle for second place. But right now, Anthony Ponce has no worries about being caught on the track, but he may have to worry about any potential penalty for not slowing sufficiently, or not slowing at all perhaps even, as it went past a yellow flag, which we think was for Karim Oj. Patrick Van Glabaker, no penalty hanging over him, but the pressure actually for once is off him, because it looks as though the gap is, he's got that comfortable half-second cushion. Right, drive-through penalty for car number 72. Our race leader will not be served. Instead, as it's the final lap of the race, it's a 30-second penalty. And you know where that'll put him? Back in 9th place. Back in 8th place, sorry, behind Christian Hook. So it's all gone wrong for Anthony Ponce. He'll be kicking himself. Yellow flags were shown. He's been racing long enough to know what they are. Didn't slow going past a stricken car that was being cleared up by the marshals. And that will drop him not to 2nd to 3rd to 4th, but down to 8th place behind Christian Hook and Patrick Van Glabaker as he defends what he thinks is 2nd place. He's actually there. The checkered flag will be shown to our race winner, but he will have that victory taken away, and it will be going to the driver who's leading out of turn 13, still in what he thinks is 2nd place, but is the lead of the race because the penalty to Anthony Ponce. Patrick Van Glabaker started on pole, and he will have converted that to victory. Christoph Ulrich pushed super hard, and look how close Alexis de Bernardi was as Ferrari take the first 4 positions. Klaus-Dieter Freres tucked in behind. 5th position because it's Stephen Earle, and then the best of the rest is Coach Mackenzie, who's crossed the line in 7th place, but he's within 30 seconds of the race leader, so that becomes 6th place, and it looks so in fact Christian Hook will just missed out. He's just more than 30 seconds behind the race winner. In fact, he slowed a lot on that final few laps. And Louis-Philippe Sonnen, a stop-start race for him, well, several stops because he had 2 pit stops. And it's not just 30 seconds being applied to number 72. It's also gone to Alexis de Bernardi, so what had become 3rd place for him suddenly has him tumbling down the order to 8th. So Anthony Ponce, even despite his fastest lap on the final lap, ended up, didn't fall to 6th, didn't fall to 8th, didn't fall to 7th. In fact, with the penalty for de Bernardi, he made it up into 6th place. But frustration for him, the other Mercedes finishing the race. Oliver Baumann crossing the line in 9th place. So we don't know if Anthony Ponce knows this yet. He may have been told there was a penalty possibly coming his way. He might have thought, if it's 10 seconds, I can do something about it. And yes, he could. But in the end, it wasn't. It was 30 seconds. So these 2 Ferraris on the left of screen, Christoph Ulrich was promoted to 2nd and promoted to victory. The driver who started from pole position, Patrick Van Glabaker. At the end of the day, the sun's setting here over the Hungaroring. Plenty more to follow. Of course, if you're a big fan of the Blancpain GT Sports Club, they have got their main race tomorrow. It's a 40-minute race. This was 25 minutes. Action aplenty, and penalties affected the outcome of the race. But the rules are rules, and Anthony Ponce, well, he could spare it. He came here with a 46-point lead, but he hasn't wrapped it up this afternoon. So, as you can see, the sun is lower, the shadows are longer at the Hungaroring. So a shake-up right at the end with the application of a 30-second penalty of the car in the lead. That was Anthony Ponce who dominated the race. And also for the car that had driven well up to 4th place overall. That was Alexis de Bernardi. 30 seconds added to their finish time meant that the car's coming down now. On the left, race winner Patrick Van Glabaker. On the right, Christoph Ulrich, who really fought hard. 2 moves made up the inside, but both were rebuffed by Van Glabaker, and that's why the 488 Ferrari ends up winning the race by 0.282 of a second. It was that close over the hard charging Christoph Ulrich. 3rd place to Klaus-Dieter Freres, up and down the order for him. Stephen Earle up to 4th place at the end, so he definitely really shone, but he didn't win the Iron Cup. That was Klaus-Dieter Freres, the fastest driver age 60 and over. Coach Mackenzie ended up in 5th. Anthony Ponce, 30 seconds added to his time, and he ended up 10.6 seconds down on the classification in 6th place. He'll be ruining it, but as the sun sets here in Central Europe in Hungary, so it's the end of the day's action and coming into the setting sun, and maybe now he's got the message. That pole position to 2nd place became pole position to victory, and the crew's waiting to be flagged in. De Bernardi might be thinking he's going to be flagged into 3rd place. No, he's got the message. He's gone into the paddock because he ended up with that penalty way down the order in 7th place. But there is the winner of the first of the 2 Blancpain GT Sports Club races here this weekend at the Hungaroring, Patrick Van Glabaker. Hats off to him. 2nd place to Christoph Ulrich, and 3rd place winning the Iron Cup, Klaus-Dieter Freres in the number 3 Ferrari. So Ferraris came good at the end. It should have been Mercedes race in the form of very, very capable form of Anthony Ponce, but he's had an error of judgment, didn't slow going past the yellow flags, and AF Corsa crew coming in. You can just hear the sort of, I won, the element of surprise, but delight on the faces of the team. The applause all round for Patrick van Glabeke. Stephen Earle coming up for a big hug as well. So lots of smiles on the face. I said earlier today the biggest smiles on the faces of anyone here at the Hungaroring tend to be the drivers racing in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, and you can see they absolutely love their racing, and that is why they come out to play. And if they can have a Ferrari to play on a Grand Prix circuit, why not? So plenty of applause for the crew, from the crews as the drivers come in. 11 started. We had 10 of them finishing because Paul Carimoge up against the barriers on the exit of turn 10 with a rather battered BMW. Hopefully that can be repaired for tomorrow. But let's take a look back at the highlights of the GT Sports Club. Great start from pole position from Patrick van Glabeke. Up the outside tried to go Anthony Ponce, but position remained as they were on the grid until the second lap of the race, when we started to have an attack coming in from Anthony Ponce. When would Patrick van Glabeke lose the lead? That was the question. Carimoge was making great progress. There he goes past Klaus-Dieter Freres. More attacking coming up. Oh, slight mistake there through turn 14 from the race leader van Glabeke. That allowed it a gain of momentum for the driver giving chase. Anthony Ponce coming up, taking a look up the inside. No, the door has been closed. That wasn't the first time, or the last time van Glabeke would do that in the race. And round the outside into third place, but losing it all over again went Carimoge. And then, yes, I will take the position. Thank you very much. Into turn 13 went the new leader of the race, but off out at the back of the circuit. Carimoge put out a knock on his car, damaged the car, perhaps oil on track. We saw a spin from Oliver Baumann, but the yellow flags came out, and that meant a problem for this man, Anthony Ponce, leading the race, didn't slow sufficiently, and he picked up a drive-through penalty, turned to 30 seconds, and that dropped him way down the order. He would end up in 6th place overall. But there, as he took the checkered flag, victory was handed to Patrick van Glabeke. Christoph Ulrich right underneath him. Now it's goodbye from me, Bruce Jones. More action tomorrow. Do join us.